Cheetah gives birth to 5 cubs, but then the staff starts to scream when this happens. When a cheetah gave birth to a record-breaking 5 cubs, it should have been a day of celebration. But an unexpected twist left the entire staff in shock, propelling the zoo into the international spotlight. The team watched anxiously as the young vet prepared for his crucial moment. Huddled around the security camera monitor, they were torn between concern for their colleague and the fragile newborn cubs. This was a pivotal moment. Taking a deep breath, the vet cautiously stepped into the small enclosure, his eyes locked on the cheetah. The question weighing on everyone's mind: how would Vela react to his approach? When approached by humans, mother cheetahs typically become highly defensive, instinctively protecting their newborns with growls, hisses, or bared teeth to ward off potential threats. Vela was no exception. If anything, she was known for her feisty temperament, especially during her pregnancy. Her journey had already been filled with unexpected twists, and this latest moment was just another chapter in the extraordinary life of this remarkable cheetah. Rescued from poachers in her native Namibia, Vela was a unique cheetah at the Metro Richmond Zoo, a leading center for cheetah research. As part of the zoo's Cheetah Conservation Center, teams of veterinarians closely monitored the health, socialization, and population of these endangered cats. Over the years, hundreds of experts had contributed to the program, striving to boost cheetah numbers. But for now, all their hopes rested on one extraordinary female, Vela. She was aging rapidly, and if she didn't give birth soon, it would be a big blow to their repopulation efforts. Aside from Vela's age, she was hard to please. There were 6 male cheetahs interested in Vela, but she stubbornly ignored any of their advances. The males would make their trademark barking noise, only to soon learn that the feeling wasn't mutual. Vela barely glanced in their direction before returning to her enclosure. Vela preferred solitude over seeking male attention, roaming vast acres of grassland with quiet confidence. Her striking yellow coat, adorned with unique black spots, made her a favorite among researchers. With her sleek frame and powerful limbs, she moved like a shadow, scaling trees, creeping through bushes, and shifting directions with unmatched agility, a true apex predator. Yet, despite her majesty, Vela was notoriously selective when it came to choosing a mate. Though safe from poachers, her greatest threat was now within her own biology. After years of isolation, the zoo's vets finally saw an opportunity to encourage mating, thanks to a promising new arrival, Kalu. He was also from Namibia, and the animal rights group that delivered him speculated that Kalu and Vela may have encountered each other before at a similar age. They had likely been part of interconnected families. As usual, zookeepers allowed them to spot each other from a distance. Strolling up through the field toward the new arrival, Vela remained hesitant and unsure at first, watching him from afar. Vela's reaction was unexpected. She recognized Kalu. As he sauntered over, letting out a barking signal for mating, the decision was hers. To everyone's surprise, she didn't resist. Instead, she rubbed her head affectionately against him, a rare display of bonding unseen at the zoo before. The research team held their breath, waiting not just for mating, but for confirmation. Days later, the news arrived: Vela was pregnant. Though their interaction seemed natural, months of planning had gone into ensuring the best chance of success, with Kalu carefully selected for her. Their efforts paid off, but the surprises weren't over. An ultrasound revealed something even bigger: 5 cubs growing inside her, soon stretching her stomach wider than ever before. As quickly as excitement had spread through the community, veterinarians became worried. A mood of celebration was quickly replaced by fear. The likelihood of all cubs surviving and Vela pulling through unharmed was very low. Vela's stomach had been injured from her time in captivity, a large gash running from her chest downward. The surface wounds had largely healed, but internal damage remained. With 5 cubs pressing against her intestines, Vela's ability to carry them safely was uncertain. As the birth approached, the research team faced a dilemma: intervene or let nature take its course. The risks were high, but with wild cheetah populations plummeting by over 90% in the last century, facilities like Metro Richmond Zoo were vital to the species' survival. Vela's first pregnancy had taken years. Terminating it now could mean an indefinite wait for another chance. After careful deliberation, the team chose to proceed, remaining vigilant in case intervention became necessary. As the pregnancy grew more dangerous, Vela was moved to a smaller enclosure where she received round-the-clock care and state-of-the-art monitoring. Researchers were forced to make their assessments from a distance. All the while, they could see that Vela was visibly growing weaker, at times even refusing to eat. She became more aggressive too, wary of humans and constantly on edge. One day, as a staff member fed her, Vela suddenly charged, clawing at the fence and forcing him to retreat into the truck. The stress of pregnancy was taking its toll, and this was the closest she had ever come to attacking. Now considered high risk, Vela had to be handled with extreme caution. The biggest concern was how zookeepers could help if she refused to let them near. Despite years of care, she still didn't fully trust them, her past trauma in Namibia casting a long shadow. To her, they were no different from the poachers who had taken her family. With the birth approaching, anxiety mounted. Surveillance was in full swing, ensuring they were ready at any moment. Days before delivery, Vela was moved to a small, enclosed space, an 18-foot-long, 6-foot-wide, dimly lit pen adjoining her usual area. For now, she was puzzled by the area, but it wouldn't take long for her to become well accustomed to it. Around 4 in the morning the following day, while it was still pitch black and silent outside, Vela felt the contractions begin to ripple through her body. Slowly, she crept toward the box. The team watched anxiously through a live camera, prepared to act in case anything went wrong. Vela first struggled to get comfortable, standing up and sitting down repeatedly with impatience. No matter how she tried, she was unable to find a comfortable position. The contractions grew closer together, and Vela's body continued to push, heaving on the inside while she remained calm on the surface. With a final push, a tiny cub dropped onto the hay, wriggling weakly as its senses slowly adjusted to the world. The surveillance room erupted in celebration, but they were only a fifth of the way through. Half an hour later, the second cub arrived, but as the intervals between births grew longer, Vela's exhaustion became evident. She had gone into labor in darkness, but by the time the third cub emerged, sunlight illuminated the fragile newborns. Summoning her last strength, Vela carefully inspected each cub, licking and nudging them to ensure their health. The cubs eagerly nestled against her warmth. When the final cub arrived, the team cheered again, unaware that this last one would soon leave them in shock. Now came the most critical moment. One vet was heading into the enclosure for a closer look. The vet chosen already had a good rapport with Vela, but he was a young man without much experience. Waves of fear came over him as he sheepishly entered the enclosure. How would Vela react to his approach? Would she go into full defense mode and attack the young man? Vela locked eyes with the vet, uncertainty hanging in the air. It was the young vet's first encounter this close to a cheetah, let alone a cheetah that had just given birth. The experience was a stark contrast to feeding from a distance. Nervously watching over this young vet's big moment, the rest of the team hunched over the security camera monitor, fearful for their colleague. With a deep breath, the vet readied himself and began moving slowly into the small enclosure, keeping his eyes fixed on the cheetah. Weeks earlier, Vela had fiercely guarded her food. Now, as a vet approached her newborns, no one knew how she'd react. To everyone's shock, she rolled over, revealing her 5 cubs, as if understanding his intent. The vet first checked Vela, exhausted but unharmed, then examined each cub. One stood out. The 5th was underweight, with an unusually large head. Lab results confirmed a birth defect, and before action could be taken, the cub struggled to breathe. With no time to wait, the vet rushed in, taking the cub to the medical tent. Despite resuscitation attempts, injections, and a defibrillator, nothing worked. The tiny cub was too weak to survive. In the surveillance room, silence fell. With heavy hearts, the team chose to euthanize it, sparing further suffering. Vela, too weak to react, seemed to accept the loss. The good news was that the 4 other cubs were incredibly healthy. Vets stepped in from time to time and offered bottled milk, ensuring that all the cubs received enough nutrients. What would once have been a daunting task soon became a fairly straightforward procedure. Vela was hesitant at first, fearful of losing yet another cub, but her feelings were always guided by the same young vet, who worked slowly and calmly to reassure her every step of the way. After 7 years, Vela was finally warming up to her zookeepers, becoming less aggressive and even offering occasional head bumps. They were grateful for her progress and amazed by the miracles she had already performed. But what she did next would shock them and the world. 2 years later, during a scorching summer, history repeated itself. Vela was pregnant again. This time, she wasn't alone. Two other cheetahs, Pearl and Nella, had also conceived, creating a chaotic challenge for the short-staffed zoo. While Nella remained relatively calm, Pearl was another story. As her pregnancy progressed, she grew increasingly aggressive, snarling, growling, and even scratching another female unprovoked. Her unpredictable behavior added a new layer of difficulty to an already overwhelming situation. Having been through this before, Vela was ready to offer a helping hand to the zookeepers. She was ready to restore order. As the bigger and older female, she commanded respect and used her power to control the others. The next time Pearl snarled at a zookeeper, Vela let out an explosive yell, sending shockwaves through the air. Everyone froze, including the zookeeper and Pearl. Vela had never been so aggressive toward another cheetah before. Her Vela's mouth stretched wide, showing her teeth in a display of dominance, sending Pearl scurrying away. Pearl quickly learned her lesson. One warning was enough. Over time, she accepted the zookeeper's presence, unwilling to challenge Vela again. But discipline alone wasn't enough to ease the zoo's challenges. Despite nearly doubling the cheetah team, resources remained stretched thin. Managing 3 pregnancies, setting up enclosures, and preparing for over 10 cubs pushed everyone to their limits. The once junior vet who had assisted with Vela now led a team, overseeing surveillance, health checks, and births. For 2 weeks, he barely took a break, often sleeping at the zoo. His main focus was Pearl, the fiercely protective first-time mother. But it wasn't her temperament that worried him most. Ultrasound scans had revealed that she was pregnant with 7 cubs, making it dangerous for both her and the cubs. He didn't want to lose another cub, but he knew the odds were stacked against them. Once again, the young vet watched with anxiety as Pearl went through the same steps as Vela. He was the one who entered the enclosure, administering the tests that would tell them the situation. Tragically, history repeated itself. This time, 2 cubs didn't survive, both struggling with similar breathing issues. The team, overwhelmed with guilt and sorrow, found comfort in knowing they had done everything possible. Despite the losses, their efforts led to remarkable success. Over just 11 days between March and April, 3 pregnancies came to term, bringing 13 cubs into the world. Nala welcomed 5, while Vela added 3 to her growing family, marking another milestone in their ongoing conservation journey. With the wild cheetah population dwindling to just 7,500, every birth was a step toward survival. The arrival of 13 new cubs marked a significant victory, one of many yet to come. Their birth sparked nationwide attention, drawing in donations and vital funding, further strengthening the Conservation Center's mission to protect the species. The zoo's new Run Wild race, launched to raise funds, proved to be a resounding success. Years later, their efforts paid off in a record-breaking way. 19 cubs were born within just a few days. Over the past decade, the conservation program saw an incredible 90 cheetahs born on-site, marking a major milestone in efforts to improve the species' conservation status. And it all began with Vela. Now likely too old for another pregnancy, Vela remains busy caring for her 7 fast-growing cubs. Since her first birth, she has developed a deep trust in the zookeepers, allowing them close, even enjoying occasional cuddles. For those who had worked tirelessly to protect her species, moments like these made every effort worthwhile. What an incredible story! If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, don't forget to hit that like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so please leave a comment below. See you in the next video.